Hello everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Ben Talks About. And I hope you all had a very great Thanksgiving yesterday, so I thought, why not, by celebrating the day after Thanksgiving, why not take our final look at the Death Note manga series, at least of the ones that I currently own, Death Note Volume 6. Now, I definitely gotta say, compared to Volume 5, this one, this one was much more of an improvement in terms of um, I guess while reading it out, I felt like the events happening in this volume were a lot more interesting than the previous one. So, considering what Masuda was able to discover about the Yotsuba company when, concerning their involvement with the Kira killings that started happening after Light Yagami was put in captivity, it's safe to assume that the task force has enough evidence in order to be able to arrest all the main members of Yotsuba. But L, L explains that while there may be someone who is actually connected, at the very least, to Kira, in terms of the group of 7 members, they're not quite sure who exactly is the main culprit. And as a result, for a very brief moment, and I mean a very brief moment, the task force is split into 2 groups. One of them consisting of Light, L, and Misa, who are going to be doing all the sort of research that they can to figure out who might be the one who is connected to Kira, while the rest of the group decides that they want to just get right down to it and arrest all 7 members right on the spot. But they aren't exactly able to do so, considering the fact that the police is no longer on their side because of the people who are connected to Kira, and they aren't exactly able to do anything under their own accord without the likes of L and, his confirmation. So really they're in sort of a dead end. Meanwhile, L's group is able to get a lot of work done extremely quickly, considering the fact that Misa was already there for about to be interviewed in the previous volume. They decide to use Misa to again sneak into the Yotsuba company to figure out any sort of information that she might be able to find that could be related to Kira, and which one of the members could possibly, be Kira. And this is where we actually see the return of a character who, for the longest time, has actually been a part of the background for the previous 2 volumes. And that character was the Shinigami Rem, who, after seeing that Misa's return to the Yotsuba Corporation and what their the type of questions that they're asking her, considering that, she went missing for a while during the volume when she was captured on the account of being accused as the second Kira. Ren decides to show herself to Misa and pretty much explain to her everything that's happened so far, and has also decided to tell her, not only the fact that Light was indeed the first Kira, and that she used to be the second Kira, but this new Kira is indeed a member of the Yotsuba company, who is a character named Higuchi. At least that's how I think you pronounce his name. So, after finding out this information, she decides to be quite a bit of a help during these previous 4 volumes. I guess the creator sort of realized that Misa's character was getting kind of annoying in the previous volume, so they made her serve much more of a better purpose, you could say. And she actually does quite a bit of work, as she's not only able to get her way into the Yotsuba Corporation, but also is able to, I guess you could say, quote-unquote, interrogate Higuchi in order to get him to say that, he is Kira. So, after figuring that out, they decide to pull an entire stunt on Sakura TV, which is the area where Misa brought all those different Kira tapes in a few volumes ago, they decide to, create a scene where they where one of the task force members appears on the show and pretty much reveals that there's a possibility that someone in Yotsuba could possibly be Kira, which of course sends Higuchi into a bit of a panic as he tries his best to get to the Sakura TV building in order to, make sure that they're not able to reveal the fact that he is indeed Kira. Of course, it doesn't work, and he ends up getting captured at the end of the volume. Now, in terms of the overall story, my favorite part was actually the middle half of the volume, where the focus pretty much became solely on the relationship between Misa and Rem, as Rem is sort of an interesting character in the series, as she's not like the same sort of character that Ryuk was. She has more of a character, and she frankly develops quite a bit in terms of, her character, and more, I guess you could say prominently concerning her, again, relationship with Misa, as she begins to indeed, care for her, and at the same time care for the people that, she's close with, most concerning, the likes of Light. And, she's sort of, not necessarily conflicted, but she's aware that if she necessarily becomes involved in any of this, like if, something, happens to Misa that could potentially get her killed, she's sort of willing to, I guess you could say, take her life away for the sake of them, continuing on, which is an interesting sort of character trait to give, what is meant to be portrayed as a sort of evil type of creature. It gives them, I guess you could say, a bit more character, and it makes them, more interesting. And speaking of which, Ryuk, especially compared to all the stuff that Rem did, now that I think about it, barely did much of anything, and that's probably why he doesn't appear at all in this volume, or very much in the previous volume, if at all. Which is kind of strange, because people seem to remember Ryuk the most when it comes to the two Shinigamis, and considering, he appears on the cover and doesn't appear in the volume at all, it's kind of interesting. But yeah, back to the character of Misa. She definitely did a lot more, I guess you could say, on her own, and she managed to get a lot of information that the task force, is able to use a whole lot. Stuff like, of course, figuring out that Higuchi is the one that has been doing all of these killings, and she doesn't act nearly as, I guess, annoying as she was in the previous volume, but that's most likely because of Rem telling her all the stuff that's been happening with her and Light, and all the stuff related to the previous Kiras in the series. Which, like I said, is probably the most interesting part, I gotta say, as the beginning half sort of felt a little bit like filler, because, as I said, the task force splitting up into two groups doesn't really have much bearing on anything, considering only one side is able to do very much of anything, in terms of how they want to go, in terms of capturing, the people from Yotsuba. And the ending is actually probably the most action-packed that the series has gotten since the Sakura TV incident several volumes ago. There's a lot of stuff that happens at the end, and I'm not gonna, spoil that much of it, because I actually really do recommend that you get this volume. It was definitely a lot more interesting to read compared to the previous volume, as I said. The characters who seemed like a bit superfluous in the previous one, managed to do their own thing and have entire chapters dedicated to them, which, to be fair to the fifth volume, they sort of did with the likes of, Matsuda. And considering he was indeed a side character, I probably appreciate that a little bit more than Misa, but considering, the type of character that she is and how, I guess you could say, infamous she is in the Death Note fan base, I can definitely appreciate them doing something good with her here too. So, overall, as I said, I really enjoyed this volume, and I hope you all enjoyed not only me talking about this volume, but also talking about, the entirety of the Death Note manga series that I currently own. And, of course, when I get, all the other volumes in the series, I will go back and do more Ben Talks About episodes concerning all of those volumes. But there's definitely a few more, I guess you could say, single videos about topics that I do want to talk about. And until then, I hope you all, have a good ending to November, and here's to the month of December, and until next time, I'm Ben Contreras, and bye.